He also removed pretty much all of the idols and false gods and um, false priests and destroyed everything that had anything to do with them in his day. And 2 Kings 23, in 2 Kings 23, we read about his death and his successors. So Josiah was a pretty good king, and he brought things around to where they needed to be. If you read more, I would encourage you to go and read in 2 Kings 22 and continue reading about a lot of the things that Josiah did. And you know how when they found that book of the law and they read it, then he called all the people together and was basically like, listen, we got to follow this. We're not doing right in the eyes of God, and if we want to be blessed, we must follow his laws. And so he made a turnaround of the people, and in many ways. And he started reestablishing the various things that they did previous to him that had gotten lost because of all the unfaithfulness that had happened. And he was a part in rebuilding the temple. 2 Kings 23, 29 through 37. In his days, Pharaoh Necho, king of Egypt, went to the aid of the king of Assyria to the river Euphrates, and King Josiah went against him. And Pharaoh Necho killed him at Megiddo when he confronted him. Then his servants moved his body in a chariot from Megiddo, brought him to Jerusalem, and buried him in his own tomb. And the people of the land took Jehoaz, the son of Josiah, anointed him, and made him king in his father's place. Jehoaz was 23 years old when he became king, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Hamathal, the daughter of Jeremiah of Libnah. And he did evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done. Now Pharaoh Necho put him in prison at Riblah in the land of Hamath, that he might not reign in Jerusalem. And he imposed on the land a tribute of 100 talents of silver and a talent of gold. Then Pharaoh Necho made Eliakim, the son of Josiah, king in his place of his father Josiah, and changed his name to Jehoiakim. And Pharaoh took Jehoaz and went to Egypt, and he died there. So Jehoiakim gave the silver and gold to Pharaoh. He taxed the land and gave money according to the command of Pharaoh. He exacted the silver and gold from the people of the land, from everyone according to his assessment, to give it to Pharaoh Necho. Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he became king, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. His mother's name was Zebiodah, the daughter of Pedaiah of Rumah. And he did evil in the sight of the Lord, according to all that his fathers had done. Okay.
What was that in?
All of it?
No, like what chapter or verse?
It was 2 Kings 23, 29 through 37. Okay, so you just have to wait just a minute. If you notice that neither Jehoaz nor Jehoiakim, which was Eliakim before Pharaoh Necho changed his name, you'll notice that Jehoaz nor Jehoiakim are mentioned in Matthew's genealogy. Okay, so these are two of the names that are not mentioned. One of them is because it says in Matthew 1:11, Josiah begot Jeconiah and his brothers about the time they were carried away to Babylon. One reason that you don't see one of these names is that Jehoaz is not in the lineage of Jesus. Jehoiakim is, but he is not mentioned in Matthew. maybe because he was another wicked king. I don't know why he's not mentioned. You know, there's theories about it, but that's what they are. He is not mentioned in this genealogy.
But he was the brothers and they ended up in slavery.
Jehoaz was the uncle.
Oh,
He was the uncle that got put into place when they took Jehoaz wasn't. I'm sorry. Jehoiakim was the uncle. But I'm just pointing out that they were actually Jehoaz was in the line of Jesus, but he's not mentioned in Matthew. And he was a wicked king, and he got taken captive by Pharaoh Necho. There are several, like we said, other wicked kings that are mentioned, so I don't know why Matthew didn't mention them. We mentioned at the first part of this that some of the commentaries say that Matthew kept it at 14, 14, and 14 because it was easy to memorize. And he may have chose to leave the wicked kings' names out just because they didn't fit, even though there are others that were wicked. That seems like a reasonable thing because he was trying to go around and prove that Jesus was indeed the Christ, he was the king, and they didn't have this written down, so he would have had to know from or memorize what the line was so that he could try to prove to people that he was trying to teach that were Jewish.
yeah, but the others were not in the lineage of Jesus, so why not leave them out?
The brothers, or who?
The ones that were left out.
Well, there's some that are left out that aren't mentioned in the genealogy. There's at least like 3 names that were.
They were in
And
the
one
lineage.
of these is one of those names.
And they were in the lineage.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
read
If
wrong.
you go person to person to person, sometimes in Matthew's genealogy he skips a son and he'll call a grandson. They skip the
Yeah,
son and they'll
right.
call the grandson, and that's still true because he's still considered his son, and it'll say he begot him, and he did because he begot his son, and his son begot him, so he would be, his like your grandkids. Would be your,
I misunderstood